I have a very special analysis for you on this Valentine's Day. And then I have a bit of Tesla news and finally a super interesting video. So a little bit different than what we normally do because it is, a special day. I've been contemplating this following analysis for this concept that I'm going to share with you today for years. And today I finally made it real with a lot of help from Grok. So the first part of this, well, the total story here is that we are heading towards the age of abundance. We're going to get there because of rapid economic growth and deflationary technology. And what would be the goal? Well, for me, the goal would be that everybody, 100% of everybody in the country would have an upper middle class standard of living. So we've already seen this take place over the last 70 years. The United States has undergone one of the most remarkable economic transformations in human history. In the 50s, a household income today that would be considered solidly middle class or even upper middle class was out of reach for most families. The lower class of that era lived with far fewer material comforts. They had limited access to reliable transportation, basic health care, or educational opportunities. And those lower classes, some of them were poverty stricken, which is why we had to have government programs to take care of them. Now, today's lower income households enjoy standards of living that would have seemed luxurious just 70 years ago. The middle class in the 1950s has largely shifted into what we now call the upper middle class, with home ownership, vacations, asset building more attainable across broader segments of society. The upward mobility isn't just anecdotal. It is backed by real income growth, real income. Real median household incomes have nearly doubled since 1950, adjusting for inflation. The purchasing power of even the bottom quintile has risen significantly thanks to technological progress, productivity gains, and broader access to goods and services. The average annual GDP growth rate, the growth rate since the 1950s has hovered around 3% per year, compounding to the economy roughly 7 to 8 times in real terms over that 30 years. Now, I want to imagine a future where this progress accelerates dramatically. This age of abundance, where every household achieves what today would be about $125,000 in income. Now, some of you will say, boy, I couldn't even live on 125,000, but maybe you're living in an expensive part of town or an expensive city where your mortgage is high, or potentially you're spending a lot more money than would be considered to be upper middle class. Maybe you are upper class. Or, of course, it takes more if you've got 4 kids at home, or if you want them all in private schools. There's ways that you can spend more. But I'm saying that $125,000 today, and that's according to multiple resources, 125,000 per household is enough on average to put people in the upper middle class area. Now, at that level, the needs like housing, food, healthcare, transportation, education are covered easily. And there's plenty left over for wants like travel, hobbies, dining out, entertainment, and building substantial assets such as retirement savings, investments, and home equity. Nationally, 125,000 places a household in the upper middle class range for most family sizes and locations, well above the current median of around 85,000. And then in lower cost regions, it supports a space, like in some places in Texas or Oklahoma, et cetera. In those places, if you're making that much money, it supports a spacious home, quality schooling, annual vacations, and financial security. Even in most high cost areas, it enables a comfortable life if you budget around luxuries. Reaching this baselines for all households wouldn't require everyone to earn exactly 125 through traditional wages alone. Much of the uplift would come from two intertwined forces: genuine increases in the productivity of the working population. So the people that we're talking about, 1 or 2 earners, usually in a household, would have to have substantially increased their output, and massive deflationary effects from technology, making formerly expensive things near free or fully supported by alternative models like advertising. We've already seen this We've seen this happen repeatedly. Long distance phone calls I mentioned all the time was once a luxury costing dollars per minute. It's now virtually free. Television and entertainment shifted from expensive cable bundles and theater tickets to ad-supported or low-cost streaming platforms. Information access, once limited to paid encyclopedias or drives to the library, exploded with free search engines and online resources. Digital goods have nearly zero marginal costs. Once created, software, music, videos, and education can be distributed globally at almost no additional expense. Emerging technologies like AI, automation, cloud computing, advanced robotics promise to extend this deflationary wave to transportation with autonomous vehicles, cheaper renewables, healthcare, AI diagnostics, lowering expenses on medical, and educational personalized online learning at minimal or no cost. Already happening. These shifts amplify real incomes without proportionally nominal spending increases. When essentials and wants become cheaper or free, the effective standard of living rises, even if the headline wages grow modestly. Combined with productivity boosts, workers producing more per hour through better tools, this creates a virtuous cycle of abundance. Now, to quantify this, we want to take the U.S. economy would have to have widespread prosperity. We kind of did an experiment. How long would it take to get this kind of doubling that we had over the past 70 years? And we came up with this following analysis. All right, over the past 70 years, real GDP has grown from roughly 3.2 trillion in 2017 dollars. 2017, I wonder why they use 2017 dollars. To about $24 trillion, which is, I didn't say that right earlier. It's about 9 times, eight or 9 times. Projections pushing 27 trillion or more by the late 2020s. The total real gain is around 24 trillion, achieving 2.5 times that historical gain, roughly 60 trillion in additional real output, which is what we would need in order to get to that number, would require the economy to reach about 3.2 times its current size. Now, again, remember how many multiples we achieved between the 1950s and now. At a sustained, I suggested the number, let's put it in a sustained 7% annual real GDP growth rate, suggested by multiple people that are watching the AI boom. This will be more than double that 3% that we talked about earlier. This target would be achievable in about 17 years. So compounding, of course, isn't involved there. This pace isn't unprecedented. In short bursts, we've had post-recession rebounds around 7%, but sustaining it long term, that would demand transformative things happening to boost productivity, some energy breakthroughs, lowering costs, which we believe that there will be, housing supply expansions, reducing living expenses, and deflationary tech. Such growth would erase all challenges, regional cost differences, family size variations, and non-material issues like mental health or community would still persist, but it would eliminate the material scarcity for pretty much everybody. Asset building would become universal. People would focus more on creativity, relationships, and purpose rather than survival. The path to this age of abundance isn't guaranteed. It requires policies that encourage innovation, education, and infrastructure while avoiding barriers to technological diffusion. But the ingredients are emerging. Exponential computing power, AI's rapid evolution, rapid evolution, and proven deflationary models. If harnessed effectively, the next 2 decades could eclipse the progress of the last 7, turning today's upper middle class lifestyle into tomorrow's baseline. In this future, abundance isn't a utopian dream. It's the logical extension of trends already underway. The question isn't whether technology can deliver it, but whether society chooses to accelerate towards it. So there is there's a certain amount of this that's based on willpower and desire. And, some people have very little of that. So getting them into the upper middle class is a little harder because I had many people, even employees of mine over the years who just didn't care. If their basic needs were met, they were fine. They weren't trying to move into a situation where they could go on a cruise every year. But what's happened, if I use that example also a lot. When I started doing cruises back in the 70s, the only people that were on those cruises were people that were making bucks. And, a lot of them were making a lot of bucks. Today, everybody can go on cruises. It's not even close. You don't need to make very much to be able to save up for a cruise. So that's just an example. So this is going to be interesting to see what takes place over the next possibly 17 years. I will be very old. Tesla's hiring AI safety operators across all of these locations right now. Houston, Texas, Orlando, Florida, Palo Alto, California, Fremont, California, Farmers Branch, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Austin, Texas, Tempe, Arizona, Sunnyvale, California, San Francisco, Peabody, Massachusetts, wherever that is, and Tampa, Florida. So maybe we're getting ready. I know we've seen reports that like 15 cars were added to the San Francisco area the last couple of days ago. Now, I'd rather see, you would too, probably 100 cars being added, but 15 is more than none. And I'd like to see a lot more cars without riders rather, or what are you going to call them, hitchhikers, in the cars. But at least we got some evidence here of some kind of progress. All right, let me tee up this video.
Rail, it looks terrible, and the things going on the sides. And then the back almost looks like a hatchback or something. It's just, a Ferrari should look swoopier. It should look curvier, and there should be fewer different pieces to it.
100%.
So I don't know. It doesn't look right to me as a Ferrari, but I thought the inside actually was fine.
I like it.
Yeah.
𝐒𝐚𝐲, you buyer? When's the last time you actually drove yourself, Sachs? Have you actually used a steering wheel in the last decade? When's the last time you actually used a steering wheel?
Full self-driving has made me a driver again, because I just set the full self-driving.
Wow.
And it's such a game changer.
Yeah.
Well, with FSD.
Yeah. Okay, so you're now driving around Texas. I like it.
With FSD.
Okay.
Because the Uber takes forever, so now I'm just like,
you've always liked to drive, 𝐒𝐚𝐲, I think. You driving yourself these days, or you?
I drive myself in a Model Y with FSD, or I take a Waymo, one of the two.
Yeah, Waymo's in the valley now, on the Pacific.
I've had a Ferrari. What I would tell you is that there's just something that's very unique. There's a Ferrari experience that's different from every other car. And I think that the new CEO, Benedetto Vigna, is a very talented executive, and I think that he's probably going to land something beautiful. The thing is that we are racing against time, and I've said this before, but FSD and autonomy is going to shift the number of people that even know what it means to drive. It will feel like, when we look at somebody who really embraces thoroughbred racing, it's just going to happen in smaller and smaller places and less often. And that's not because these cars aren't beautiful, but it's because the risk will not make any sense for most people under most conditions. And I think that's the big thing that's going to change. Like, the car culture in America was a profound part of the American culture. You know, driving from A to B on vacation, the sense of freedom, the building of the interstate highway system. These were huge parts of what made America great, and the rails on which all this productivity sat on top of. And now I think it's all going to change. So I don't know. I mean, I think the car will probably be beautiful. Like, Ferraris are beautiful. There's a Ferrari dealership in Redwood City, and whenever I drive by it, I slow down and I look out. They make beautiful cars.
Piece of art. Yeah.
And I think in places like China and India, they're always going to have a market. But I think in places like the United States, it's going to become so expensive to pay for the insurance if you are driving yourself, that the idea that you would buy any car is going to feel tougher and tougher, just because I think the math is going to be tough. But the experience inside of the Ferrari is second to none. So it probably is that there's going to be a bunch of high-end cars like Ferrari, where you pay for the experience, you're in a position to pay for the car, you'll pay for the insurance,
the luxury.
all of it. And
Yeah.
then the rest of us will be using FSD or Waymo.
100%. We have 2 Model Ys and we have to get another car. And it's like, well, what else can we buy? We have no choice. It's either buy one of the last X's.
I'm so
or
mad
buy a
the
Y.
X, well, deprecating the X really bought. So I have a real problem now, which is I have 5 kids. So
Yes.
the X is the only car that can manage 7 people. So I need a
There
new
is a 3-row,
solution.
by the way, Model Y, but it's a bit tight.
It's a bit tight. It's not
It's a
good.
bit tight. I
It's not good
wish
for me.
Elon would have made the minivan or the 3-row SUV. And who knows, maybe he does someday.
When I was in Abu Dhabi,